Mia Carter pressed her face against the viewing window as the transport ship approached Starlight Academy. The massive space station that looked like a giant metal flower floating among the stars, with different sections spreading out like petals. Each section housed students from different worlds across the galaxy. "Look, Max," Mia said to her 10-year-old brother, who sat beside her. Max held a small travel carrier on his lap, just like Mia did. Their mother, Dr. Emily Carter, smiled from across the aisle. "Remember, kids, this is a big opportunity. Not many human children get to attend the galaxy's best school," she said. Their father, Commander Mark Carter, nodded. "Just be yourselves, make friends, and take good care of Fluffy and Nutmeg." Mia looked down at her carrier, where Fluffy, her black and white guinea pig, sat quietly munching on a piece of lettuce. Max's hamster, Nutmeg, was running on his tiny wheel inside his carrier. The pets had been their constant companions for 2 years on Earth. The docking process took 30 minutes. When they finally stepped off the transport, Mia felt the artificial gravity pull her feet to the deck. The air smelled different here, cleaner but with a slight metallic taste. A tall, blue-skinned alien approached them. His head was shaped like a cone, and his eyes were large and silver. "Welcome, Carter family. I am Principal Zorak. We are pleased to have our first human students," he said. Mia and Max followed their parents and the principal through long corridors. Other alien beings walked past them, and Mia tried not to stare. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few seemed to be made of crystal that caught the light. They reached a large room filled with students sitting at curved desks. The room went quiet when they entered. "Students, please welcome Mia and Max Carter from Earth," Principal Zorak announced. A crystalline being that looked like a walking diamond raised what might have been a hand. "I am CRYST-7. What are those containers you carry?" Mia looked at Max, then back at the class. "These are our pets from Earth," she said. Several students made sounds that might have been laughter. A blue, squid-like creature with big eyes bubbled something that sounded amused. "Pets?" asked a student that looked like a giant praying mantis. "What are pets?" Max stepped forward. "They're animals that live with us and are our friends." More sounds of amusement filled the room. The teacher, a tall, graceful being with silver skin and long fingers, waved for quiet. "I am Miss Leora. Please show us these Earth creatures." Mia looked at Max, who nodded. She opened her carrier carefully. Fluffy poked her head out, whiskers twitching as she looked around the room. Her small black eyes examined the strange new faces staring at her. The alien students burst into loud laughter. CRYST-7's crystal body rang like bells as he shook with amusement. "That tiny thing is your companion? It looks like food," he said. Max opened his carrier next. Nutmeg climbed onto his palm, his golden fur clean and shiny. The hamster sat up on his back legs and cleaned his whiskers with his tiny paws. Even smaller, clicked the mantis-like student. "What does it do? Can it fight? Can it carry things? Can it even survive without protection?" asked the squid-like creature, whose voice made bubbling sounds. Mia felt her cheeks grow warm. "They don't fight. They're gentle and friendly. Fluffy likes to eat vegetables and run around. Nutmeg likes to climb and explore." "Pathetic," Crick said, his crystal body flashing with colors. "On my world, we bond with shard birds that can sing in frequencies that shatter stone. They're useful." The squid creature, who introduced herself as Yith, seemed curious rather than mean. "My companion can glow in the dark and speaks in light patterns. What purpose do your creatures serve?" Mia looked down at Fluffy, who had climbed onto her shoulder and was gently nibbling her ear. "They make us happy. They trust us, and we take care of them." The mantis student, called Click Snap, made rapid clicking sounds. "My helper bugs can lift objects 10 times their weight and solve complex problems. Your creatures seem useless for survival." Ms. Leora moved closer to examine Fluffy and Nutmeg. "Interesting. They appear very calm despite being in a completely alien environment. Most creatures would show signs of stress," she said. "They're used to being with us," Max explained. "We've had them since they were babies. They know we'll keep them safe." A student covered in green fur laughed. "Keep them safe? They look like they couldn't survive a day in the wild. How did such weak creatures evolve on your world?" Mia felt defensive. Earth has lots of dangerous animals, but Fluffy and Nutmeg are smart. They know how to hide and when to be quiet. They're not weak. Yet you choose companions that cannot defend themselves, or you, Crick said. We protect each other, Mia said simply. Principal Zorak had been watching quietly. Very interesting. On most worlds, companion animals are chosen for their abilities to assist or protect. Your species forms bonds based on different criteria. The class continued with students from different worlds showing images of their companions. It showed pictures of her bioluminescent sea creature that could communicate through light displays. Click Snap displayed his helper insects that could form complex structures and solve puzzles. Crick projected an image of his shardbird, a creature that looked like it was made of living crystal with wings that could create beautiful but deadly sonic attacks. When it was time for the humans to share, Mia simply held Fluffy while Max let Nutmeg explore his desk. The pets seemed interested in their surroundings but stayed close to their humans. They don't do tricks or show special powers, Mia explained. They just live with us and share our daily life. How boring, muttered Click Snap, but Jith swam closer in her water-filled mobility suit. They seem very aware of everything around them. See how the small one's ears move to track sounds, and the furry one keeps watching the exits. Miss Leora nodded thoughtfully. Yes, they appear quite alert for creatures you describe as gentle companions. As the day ended, Mia and Max prepared to take their pets to the dormitory section where human families were housed. The other students continued to whisper and make amused sounds about the Earth pets and their apparent uselessness. Walking through the corridors, Max whispered to Mia, "Do you think we made a mistake bringing them?" Mia scratched Fluffy behind the ears, feeling the small creature's contentment through her gentle purring sounds. "No, they belong with us. The others just don't understand yet." Neither child noticed how Fluffy and Nutmeg's ears stayed alert and focused, or how their small eyes constantly scanned their new environment with an intensity that seemed unusual for such small, gentle creatures. The first day at Starlight Academy was over, but Mia had the strange feeling that Fluffy and Nutmeg were not just exploring their new home. They seemed to be studying it, learning it as if they were preparing for something only they could sense. 2 weeks had passed since Mia and Max arrived at Starlight Academy. The teasing about their pets had continued every day, but some students were becoming more curious than mean. Yi, the young Narradin, often asked questions about how Fluffy and Nutmeg behaved at home on Earth. During morning lessons, Miss Leora taught the class about space dangers. Her silver fingers moved through holographic displays, showing different threats that existed in the galaxy. The vacuum of space is not the only danger, she explained to the mixed group of alien children. There are creatures made of pure energy that drift between stars. We call them void wraiths. Mia looked up from her notes. Fluffy sat in her lap, having been allowed out of her carrier during quiet lessons. The guinea pig's ears perked up at certain words, though Mia assumed she was just responding to her voice. "What do void wraiths do?" asked CRYST-7, his crystal body flashing with interest. "They feed on life energy," Ms. Leora said. "They are drawn to places where many living beings gather together. Fortunately, they are extremely rare. The last confirmed sighting was over 200 years ago." Click Snap made rapid clicking sounds. "How do they feed?" "They drain the life force from living creatures, leaving only empty shells behind." The teacher's voice grew serious. "But you do not need to worry. Starlight Academy has powerful shields and defense systems. We are completely safe here." Max noticed that Nutmeg, who usually stayed calm during lessons, had started running frantically on his wheel. The hamster had been doing this more often lately, especially during the night hours when Max was trying to sleep. After class, Mia and Max walked through the corridors toward the dining hall. Other students moved around them, chattering in their different languages. The Carter children had learned to understand most species through their universal translators. "Your Earth pets seem nervous lately," observed Yith, swimming alongside them in her mobility suit. "Is this normal behavior?" Mia looked down at Fluffy, who was riding on her shoulder. The guinea pig had been making soft chattering sounds more often, and she seemed to prefer staying close to Mia rather than exploring like she used to. "I'm not sure," Mia admitted. "They've been acting different since we got here." "Different how?" Yitha's large eyes showed genuine curiosity. Max shifted Nutmeg to his other arm. Nutmeg keeps running on his wheel all night, and he tries to hide in the corner of his habitat during the day. Maybe they smell something we cannot detect, suggested G. Water creatures like me notice that many land animals have stronger senses than we realize. The dining hall buzzed with activity as students from dozens of species gathered for the midday meal. Mia and Max found seats at a table near the large viewing windows that showed the stars outside. CRYST-7 approached their table. His crystal body chimed softly as he moved. "I have been thinking about your pet creatures," he said to Mia. "Really?" Mia was surprised. CRYST-7 had been one of the students who laughed the most at Fluffy and Nutmeg. "Yes," he said. "On my world, we study how different species adapt to survive. Your creatures come from what you call a death world, correct?" Max nodded. "Earth has lots of predators and dangerous weather. Our parents told us that's why other species call it dangerous. Then how did such small, seemingly defenseless creatures survive to become companions?" CRYST-7's crystals pulsed with genuine curiosity. Mia thought about this. "Well, guinea pigs live in groups in the wild. They watch out for each other and warn when danger comes. Hamsters are really good at hiding and can fit into tiny spaces. Survival through community cooperation and evasion tactics." CRYST-7 mused. Interesting adaptations for a dangerous world. Their conversation was interrupted by loud alarms echoing through the dining hall. Students looked around in confusion as Principal Zorak's voice came over the communication system. "Attention, all students and staff. We are experiencing minor technical difficulties in the lower levels of the station. Please remain in your current locations while our engineering teams investigate." The alarm stopped, but a nervous energy filled the room. Teachers moved between tables, reassuring students that everything was fine. Mia noticed that Fluffy had gone very still on her shoulder. The guinea pig's small body was tense, and her whiskers twitched constantly as if she was trying to sense something in the air. "What's wrong, Fluffy?" Mia whispered, gently stroking her pet's fur. Max looked at Nutmeg, who had climbed to the top of his travel carrier and was standing on his back legs, nose in the air. "Nutmeg's doing that thing where he tries to smell everything at once," he said. Miss Leora approached their table. "How are your companions reacting to the situation?" she asked. "They seem worried about something," Mia replied, "but I don't know what." The teacher observed both animals carefully. Their behavior suggests they are detecting something we cannot. Many species have senses that extend beyond what we consider normal. Over the next hour, maintenance reports filtered through the staff communication channels. Several cleaning drones had stopped responding in the lower sections. Energy readings showed unusual fluctuations that the engineering team couldn't explain. Chief Engineer Kovas, a large, bear-like Thion, sent updates to Principal Zorak. "Probably just old equipment failing," his gruff voice reported. "This station has been operating for 50 years. Things break down." But the energy readings continued to climb, and more drones went offline. The engineering team sent to investigate reported strange cold spots in certain corridors, and some workers complained of feeling unusually tired after working in the affected areas. Meanwhile, Fluffy and Nutmeg became increasingly agitated. Both animals refused to eat their usual food and stayed close to their humans. When Mia tried to put Fluffy back in her habitat for a nap, the guinea pig made distressed squeaking sounds and tried to climb back onto Mia's shoulder. "They don't want to be alone," Max observed. "Nutmeg keeps trying to stay in my pocket." Yith had been watching their pet's behavior with growing interest. "In the deep oceans of my world, we have creatures that can sense changes in water pressure and temperature long before storms arrive. Perhaps your companions detect something similar." That evening, as students prepared for sleep, the strange energy readings in the lower levels spiked again. 3 more maintenance workers reported feeling dizzy and exhausted after brief visits to the affected areas. Mia lay in her bed, listening to Fluffy make soft, worried sounds from her nearby habitat. Max's room was next door, and she could hear Nutmeg's wheels spinning continuously through the wall. "Something's wrong," Mia whispered to herself. "They're trying to tell us something." She got up and looked out her window at the stars. Starlight Academy floated peacefully in space, its lights twinkling against the darkness. Everything looked normal and safe, But deep in the lower levels of the station, something cold and hungry stirred in the shadows. The energy readings spiked once more, and in the darkness, 3 pairs of burning red eyes opened for the first time in centuries. The Void Wraiths had found their next meal. The Galactic Harmony Festival had turned the main amphitheater into a spectacular display of lights and sounds. Students from every species wore traditional clothing from their worlds, and the air buzzed with excitement. Colorful banners hung from the ceiling, and the stage glowed with soft rainbow lights. Mia adjusted her blue earth dress and checked on Fluffy one more time. The guinea pig sat in her clear travel carrier, but instead of her usual calm behavior, she pressed against the walls and made rapid squeaking sounds. "She's been like this all morning," Mia told Max, who was holding Nutmeg's carrier. "Nutmeg, too," Max replied, looking worried. "He won't stop trying to dig into the corner of his carrier. I've never seen him act this way around them." Alien families gathered to watch their children perform. The crystalline Zepyrian parents chimed like wind bells as they talked, while the aquatic Nerdin families communicated through patterns of colored lights in their water suits. Miss Leora approached the Carter children. "Are you ready for your presentation? You're scheduled to demonstrate Earth music in 15 minutes. Mia nodded, but kept glancing down at Fluffy, who had started making a new sound, a low chattering that seemed almost urgent. "Is your companion unwell?" asked Principal Zorak, noticing Fluffy's behavior. "I don't know," Mia admitted. "Both pets have been acting strange all day." The principal's con-shaped head tilted as he observed both animals. Perhaps the excitement of the festival is overwhelming for creatures from a quieter world. But Mia didn't think that was right. Fluffy and Nutmeg had been to many gatherings on Earth and never acted this way. Something else was wrong. The festival continued with amazing performances. CRYSD7's Shardbird created music by vibrating its crystal wings at different frequencies. ClickSnap's helper insects built complex geometric shapes that told stories through movement. Yitha's bioluminescent companion painted pictures with light across the darkened stage. As Mia's turn approached, she opened Fluffy's carrier to lift her out. The moment the carrier opened, Fluffy tried to escape, scrambling toward the edge of the stage. "Fluffy, no." Mia caught her pet just before she could jump down. But instead of calming down in Mia's arms, Fluffy struggled and made piercing squeaking sounds that were loud enough to be heard over the festival music. Max was having the same problem with Nutmeg. The hamster chittered frantically and tried to burrow into Max's jacket, as if he was trying to hide from something terrible. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red. But in that moment of darkness, a sound echoed through the amphitheater that made every being present freeze with terror. It was not a roar or a scream. It was something worse, a sound like the universe itself was being torn apart, followed by a whisper that seemed to come from inside everyone's head at once. Chief Engineer Kova's panicked voice crackled over the communication system. "All stations, we have a breach. Repeat, we have a breach in sections 12 through 15. Something is consuming everything in its path." The festival dissolved into chaos. Parents grabbed their children while teachers tried to maintain order. Some species began evacuation procedures, while others sealed themselves into protective formations. Principal Zorak's voice boomed over the crowd. "Remain calm. Activate species-specific emergency protocols. This is not a drill." But through the panic, Mia noticed something incredible. Fluffy had stopped struggling. Instead, the guinea pig sat perfectly still in Mia's arms, her small black eyes focused intently on the main entrance to the amphitheater. Nutmeg had done the same thing. The hamster sat upright on Max's shoulder, no longer trying to hide, but watching and waiting with an alertness that seemed impossible for such a small creature. "Look at them," Max whispered, his voice full of wonder. Both pets had undergone a subtle transformation. Their fur seemed to shimmer with a faint light, and their eyes held an intelligence that was far beyond anything the children had ever seen before. More reports crackled over the communication system. Station security had tried to stop whatever was in the lower levels, but their weapons passed right through it. Automated defense systems were completely useless. 3 entities confirmed, came Kova's terrified voice. "They're moving up through the levels. Everything they touch is drained of life. We're losing entire sections. Miss Leora's silver face had gone pale. She moved closer to the Carter children, her ancient Valonian knowledge surfacing. Those creatures your pet sensed. They were right to be afraid. What are they? Mia asked, still holding Fluffy, who continued to stare at the entrance with unwavering focus. Void Wraiths, Miss Leora whispered. Beings of pure hunger that feed on life energy. I thought they were legends, but the signs were all there. The energy drains, the equipment failures, the cold spots. A new sound filled the amphitheater, the hiss of air being sucked through the ventilation system, followed by that terrible whispering that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Then the main entrance began to darken, not with shadow but with something that seemed to absorb light itself. The darkness writhed and moved, taking shape as it entered their sanctuary. Students screamed and pressed against the far walls. Parents tried to shield their children, while teachers activated whatever protective devices they carried. The first void wraith materialized fully, a shifting mass of darkness roughly the size of a large vehicle, with burning red eyes that seemed to look directly into the soul of every living being present. Tentacles of pure shadow reached out from its body, searching for life to consume. Where the tentacles touched the walls, metal turned gray and crumbled. The decorative plants placed around the amphitheater withered and died instantly. But as the creature moved forward, drawn by the massive concentration of life energy from hundreds of beings, something extraordinary happened. Fluffy jumped from Mia's arms and landed on the floor between the void wraith and the crowd of terrified students and families. The tiny guinea pig, weighing less than 2 pounds, stood her ground and let out a sound that no guinea pig in the history of Earth had ever made. A deep, resonant growl that echoed through the chamber like a challenge. The void wraith paused, its burning eyes focused on the small earth creature that dared to stand against it. Then Nutmeg leaped from Max's shoulder to join Fluffy. His golden fur now glowed with patterns of light that formed geometric shapes in the air around him. The alien witnesses stared in absolute shock as 2 tiny earth animals, creatures they had mocked as useless pets, positioned themselves between certain death and everyone they cared about. Impossible, breathed CRYSD7, his crystal body dim with amazement. Empathic guardians, Miss Leora whispered, recognition dawning in her ancient mind. I thought they were myths. Creatures evolved not just to survive, but to protect others from threats beyond the physical realm. The truth was beginning to emerge, and it would change everything the galaxy thought they knew about Earth and its seemingly harmless creatures. What happened next made every alien in the amphitheater question everything they thought they knew about Earth creatures. Fluffy, the tiny guinea pig who had been mocked for weeks as a useless pet, began to glow with soft golden light that grew brighter with each passing second. The void wraith moved forward, its shadow tentacles reaching toward the crowd of terrified beings. Where the darkness touched the air, frost formed instantly. The creature's whispers grew louder, promising endless hunger and death. But Fluffy stepped directly into the path of the nearest tentacle. When the shadow touched her glowing fur, something incredible happened. Instead of draining her life energy, the darkness recoiled as if it had been burned. Fluffy's squeaks had transformed into complex musical tones that seemed to cause the void wraith actual pain. The creature's burning red eyes focused on her with what looked like confusion and anger. Nutmeg joined the defense. His golden fur now bristled with energy that created geometric patterns of light in the air around him. The patterns formed barriers that blocked the void wraith's tentacles from reaching the crowd behind them. This is impossible, whispered Principal Zorak, his cone-shaped head tilted in amazement. How can such small creatures resist entities that destroyed our security forces? Ms. Leora moved closer to Mia and Max. Her silver eyes were wide with recognition. Children, your companions are not ordinary animals. They are something that most civilizations believed was only legend. What do you mean? Mia asked, unable to look away from Fluffy, who was now standing twice as tall as normal and glowing like a small sun. Empathic guardians, Ms. Leora explained, her voice filled with awe. On worlds as dangerous as Earth, some species evolved beyond simple survival. They developed the ability to protect others from threats that exist beyond the physical realm. But they're just hamsters and guinea pigs. How is this possible? Max asked. Think about their behavior on Earth, Miss Leora said urgently. Guinea pigs live in groups and constantly watch for danger to warn others. Hamsters are always alert and ready to defend their territory. These traits went far deeper than anyone realized. The truth began to make sense to Mia. They were always protecting us, we just never knew it. Earth's classification as a death world meant constant danger from predators, natural disasters, and threats we cannot even imagine. Ms. Leora continued, some species there evolved not just to survive these dangers, but to actively fight against them. The Void Wraith tried a different approach, splitting its attention between multiple attacks. But Fluffy and Nutmeg seemed to communicate without sound, coordinating their defense with perfect timing. Fluffy created waves of golden energy that pushed back the creature's life-draining aura, while Nutmeg formed protective shields around the most vulnerable members of the crowd, the youngest children and elderly beings. CRYST-7, who had spent weeks mocking the Earth pets, now watched in silent amazement. Their rapid breeding and high energy levels were not signs of weakness. They were power sources for abilities we could not comprehend, he said. And their constant vigilance, added Click Snap, his clicking sound subdued with respect. We thought they were nervous and afraid. They were actually scanning for threats we could not detect. Yit swam closer to Max in her mobility suit. The way they bonded with you and your sister, that emotional connection is giving them strength to maintain these abilities, she said. Max looked down at his hands, remembering all the times he had held Nutmeg close during thunderstorms or when the hamster seemed scared. We thought we were comforting them, but they were actually drawing power from our care. The bond works both ways, Miss Leora explained. Your love and trust give them the emotional energy they need to access their protective abilities. In return, they shield you from dangers you never even knew existed. The Void Wraith let out a shriek of frustration as its attacks continued to fail. Other creatures, like it, could be heard moving through the station's corridors, but they seemed reluctant to enter the amphitheater where two small Earth animals held their ground. Mia noticed that both pets kept glancing back at her and Max, as if checking to make sure their humans were safe. They're not just fighting to protect everyone. They're fighting to protect us specifically, she said. Of course, said Ms. Leora. You are their family. On a world as dangerous as Earth, family protection would be the strongest evolutionary drive possible. The alien students and teachers were beginning to understand the magnitude of what they were witnessing. These tiny creatures, dismissed as worthless pets, possessed abilities that could stand against forces beyond their most advanced technology. But the battle was far from over. Reports continued to come through the communication system about the other two Void Wraiths moving through the station. They were growing stronger as they consumed energy from the lower levels, and they would soon reach areas where there were no empathic guardians to stop them. Fluffy's glow began to flicker slightly, showing that maintaining her defensive abilities was draining even for a creature evolved for protection. Nutmeg's light barriers wavered as he struggled to cover such a large area. They cannot hold out forever, Miss Leora observed. And there are still two more of those creatures somewhere in the station. Mia stepped forward, moving closer to Fluffy. What can we do to help them? She asked. Stay close, Miss Leora advised. Your emotional bond is their power source. The stronger your connection, the more energy they can draw upon. Max joined Mia, kneeling down near Nutmeg. We're here, Nutmeg. We're not going anywhere. As if responding to their voices, both pets' abilities grew stronger. Fluffy's golden light blazed brighter, and Nutmeg's protective barriers solidified into walls of pure energy. The Void Wraith in the amphitheater began to retreat, unable to advance against the combined power of two empathic guardians supported by their human partners. But as it withdrew, its whispers carried a new message that chilled everyone present. The other two Void Wraiths had found different routes through the station, and they were converging on the amphitheater from opposite directions. Soon, Fluffy and Nutmeg would face all three creatures at once while protecting hundreds of beings who had no defense against energy-draining entities. Mia and Max looked at each other, understanding that the real battle was just beginning. Their pets had revealed abilities beyond imagination, but would it be enough to save everyone on Starlight Academy? The answer would come when three ancient predators of life itself faced two small guardians from a world where everything had learned to fight for survival. The final battle began when all three void wraiths entered the amphitheater from different directions. The creatures moved like living shadows, their burning red eyes focused on the hundreds of life forms gathered in the center of the room. The temperature dropped so quickly that frost formed on the walls and ceiling. Fluffy and Nutmeg stood side by side in the middle of the floor. Their small bodies glowed brighter than ever before, but now they faced enemies coming from three directions at once. Each creature was larger and hungrier than before. Mia and Max moved closer to their pets, understanding that their emotional connection was crucial to the defense. The other students and teachers formed a tight circle around them, no longer thinking of the earth animals as useless pets. "Stay together," Ms. Leora called out. "The closer we are, the easier it is for them to protect us all." The first void wraith attacked from the left, sending tentacles of pure darkness toward the crowd. Nutmeg responded instantly, creating a barrier of geometric light patterns that absorbed the attack. But the effort made his glow flicker dangerously. The second creature struck from the right. Its whispers promised death and emptiness. Fluffy met this attack with waves of golden energy that pushed the darkness back, but Mia could see that her pet was struggling against such a powerful force. The third void wraith, larger than the others, approached from behind. It had fed on more life energy from the lower levels and seemed stronger than its companions. "There are too many," Principal Zorak said quietly. "Even with their abilities, two small creatures cannot fight three ancient predators." But Mia noticed something that the others had missed. Every time she spoke to Fluffy or touched her gently, the guinea pig's light grew brighter. When Max encouraged Nutmeg, the hamster's barriers became stronger. "Everyone needs to help," Mia announced to the crowd. "Not by fighting, but by caring." "What do you mean?" asked CRYST7, his crystal body dim with worry. "They draw power from emotional connections," Max explained, understanding his sister's idea. "If everyone here focuses on wanting to protect each other, it might give Fluffy and Nutmeg the energy they need." Yith was the first to understand. Like a school of fish protecting each other from predators, individual effort becomes group strength, she said. Miss Leora nodded quickly. "Yes, focus your thoughts on protection, on caring for those around you." These creatures evolved in response to communities that survived by working together. The alien students and teachers began to concentrate on their desire to protect each other and their small Earth guardians. The Zepyrian families chimed in harmonious frequencies that expressed hope and unity. The Neridans created light patterns that spoke of community and mutual care. The effect was immediate and powerful. Fluffy's golden glow expanded outward, creating a dome of protective energy over the entire crowd. Nutmeg's barriers multiplied, forming complex geometric shields that moved to block attacks from any direction. But the void wraiths adapted to the stronger defense. They began to coordinate their attacks, striking at the same moment from different angles to overwhelm the small guardians. Fluffy and Nutmeg responded by doing something that amazed even Ms. Leora. They began to phase in and out of physical reality, allowing them to engage the energy beings on their own plane of existence. "Impossible," breathed the teacher. "They are fighting creatures of pure energy by becoming partially energy themselves." The battle became a spectacular display of light and shadow. Golden energy clashed with writhing darkness, while geometric patterns of force deflected attacks that could drain the life from entire sections of the station. Mia watched her beloved pet transform into something magnificent and powerful, yet still recognizably fluffy. The guinea pig's personality shone through her abilities, protective, caring, and utterly determined to keep her family safe. Max saw the same thing in Nutmeg. The hamster's natural alertness and quick reflexes had evolved into the ability to anticipate and counteract attacks from beings that existed beyond normal space and time. "They're not just fighting," observed Click Snap with newfound respect. "They are using the attacker's own energy against them." It was true. Fluffy had learned to redirect the life-draining attacks back toward the void wraiths, weakening the creatures with their own weapons. Nutmeg created resonance patterns that disrupted the being's ability to maintain their form in physical reality. The turning point came when the largest void wraith made a desperate attack, throwing all of its remaining energy toward the crowd in one massive assault. The other two creatures joined the attack, creating a wave of death and emptiness that should have destroyed every living thing in the amphitheater. But Fluffy and Nutmeg were ready. Drawing upon the caring thoughts and protective desires of every being present, they created something that had never been seen before, a pulse of pure life energy that met the attack head-on. The collision of forces created a brilliant flash of light that filled the entire room. When it faded, the three void wraiths were gone, banished back to whatever realm they came from. Fluffy and Nutmeg stood in the center of the amphitheater. Their glowing forms slowly returned to normal size and appearance, but their eyes still held the intelligence and alertness that marked them as far more than ordinary pets. The room erupted in cheers and celebration sounds from dozens of different species. Students who had mocked the earth animals just weeks before now approached with genuine admiration and respect. Mia knelt down and gently picked up Fluffy, who nuzzled against her neck with familiar affection. "Thank you for protecting everyone," she whispered. Max scooped up Nutmeg, who climbed onto his shoulder and began cleaning his whiskers as if nothing unusual had happened. Principal Zorak approached the Carter family. "I believe we need to update our understanding of Earth species and their potential contributions to our community," he said. Ms. Leora nodded in agreement. "These creatures have taught us that strength comes in many forms and that the most powerful abilities often appear in the most unexpected packages." CRYSD-7's crystal body chimed with respectful tones. "We apologize for our earlier mockery. We did not understand what we were seeing." "That's okay," Mia said, scratching Fluffy behind the ears. "Most people on Earth don't know about their special abilities either. They just know they make good friends." Yit swam closer in her mobility suit. "Would it be possible for me to learn more about caring for Earth animals? I think my species could benefit from understanding this type of companionship." Over the following days, everything changed at Starlight Academy. The human children found themselves surrounded by alien students eager to learn about Earth creatures and the bonds humans formed with them. The Academy officially requested that all human families be encouraged to bring their companion animals, recognizing them as important safety resources rather than mere pets. Fluffy and Nutmeg returned to their normal routines of eating, playing, and sleeping. But Mia and Max noticed they remained more alert than before, as if they were always ready to protect their extended family of alien friends. The final report on the Void Wraith incident included a new section in the Academy's safety protocols: Earth companion animals' empathic guardian capabilities. It concluded that underestimating any species based on appearance could prove to be a fatal mistake. In the quiet moments before sleep each night, Mia would whisper her thanks to Fluffy, while Max would tell Nutmeg how proud he was to have such a brave friend. The small creatures would respond with gentle sounds of contentment, knowing that their most important job was not fighting monsters, but being loved members of a family that spanned the stars.